Hi everyone, my name is AD and welcome to Art Spot, the online version of our free weekly drop-in art making program for children and families at the Tampa Museum of Art. Today we're going to learn how to draw meanders. So what do you think about when you think about the word meander? Probably somebody walking around, wandering about, really not knowing where they're going. Well, the meander we're talking about today is a specific kind of design used a lot in ancient Greece, which is actually a very precise design. You can find a link in the description to a handout for this project that includes the example of meanders we were just looking at, but you can see some more examples from the Tampa Museum of Art's collection of ancient Greek vessels here. This is the newest one at 2,490 years old. There are a couple more here and here too. So as we can see, a meander is a kind of decorative border made from one continuous line. It might remind you of a wandering river or a maze, but it's a pretty common design used in Greek and Roman art. In ancient Greece, they appear on lots of buildings and lots of pottery. So the meander is one of the more important symbols in ancient Greece. We think it's important because you can find it on many ancient Greek temples. And so what does it symbolize? It might have symbolized infinity and unity. Infinity because it's this pattern that you can repeat indefinitely, and unity because the dark and light shapes interlock perfectly. A meander is one of those things like the pointy S that's surprisingly hard to draw if you're trying to just copy the outlines, but when somebody shows you step by step, it's actually not that hard at all with a little bit of practice, of course. So let's just get going. All you're going to need for this is a pencil and some graph paper, and if you don't have graph paper, don't worry, it's pretty easy to make your own. It doesn't have to be perfect, just try and make all your lines as evenly spaced as you can. So, okay, we've got our pencil, our graph paper, let's go. So somewhere in the middle of your graph paper, start by drawing a skinny rectangle. You want it to be 7 squares tall and 1 square wide. All the rectangles we're going to draw are going to be 1 square wide. So we do that tall one, now we're going to do one 7 squares long, right? And you can notice they both overlap in the corner. All of our rectangles are going to overlap too. So we got one going 7 squares up, one going 7 squares right. Then we got 5 squares down, 3 squares left, 3 squares up, 3 squares left again, and then 5 squares down. And then you just finish by making another 7 squares long rectangle. And you got it. Now you definitely want to shade it in because that's one of the cool things about the pattern is that the dark shapes and the light shapes interlock perfectly. So even if you're just drawing a single line, we'll see in a minute, you want to kind of scribble those edges to make your lines thicker so that the empty spaces between the lines are about the same width as the lines themselves. So after you make this first one, you can just start again, growing your first line off the end of the last line that you just drew. And I would do a couple of these until you can start to draw them from memory. I have this little guideline at the bottom, 7 up, 7 over, 5 down. After you do a couple, you should be able to just draw a single line in this pattern, kind of on and on and on as much as you want. So once you practice, get creative with this new pattern. Use different materials, different markers, paint, crayons, use different colors. Rotate your paper as you draw to kind of make them go in different directions or to make curves. Make some big, some small, some with thick outlines, some with scribbly outlines. Just try to do as many combinations as possible. You could even turn it into a kind of game, trying to cover your paper with one meander pattern without lifting your pencil. You can use meanders as a border for your notes or to-do lists. If you have a Sharpie and a disposable cup, you can draw rows of meander patterns on your cup to decorate it like ancient Greek vessels. But whatever you do, right now you have this new doodle in your arsenal to play around with, right? One that's thousands of years old. The book I got my pictures from today is called The Making of a Museum, 100 Years, 100 Works from the Tampa Museum of Art. The Tampa Museum of Art has been around in one form or another for 100 years. In this book, you can read about the history of the Tampa Museum of Art and see photos of the 100 works of art that best represent the museum's history and mission. The collection is unique, with a lot of ancient Greek and Roman art, as well as more and more modern and contemporary art, so art that's really old and art that's really new. This group of 100 works features a wide range of objects that present a unique insight into how the collection and identity of the museum has evolved as it grew from a small local arts organization to the city of Tampa's preeminent museum of art. And copies are available during regular business hours at the museum store. Have a great day, and thank you for learning and making with the Tampa Museum of Art.